Chapter 15. Grandpa Liam was the fastest 74-year-old man I had ever witnessed in the woods. It was our third day out on the trap line. Now that all the traps were set, we sped the snow machine down the South Loop Road. We still had the game sled, axes, hatchets, and the chainsaw. We had large burlap bags now too, and rope. We brought the waterproof insulated gloves and 2 rifles. The .22 Winchester Magnum rimfire was a small caliber rifle, and Grandpa Liam brought that in case there was a wounded animal in one of the traps. The 7mm Remington Magnum was in case we ran into a moose or white-tailed deer. Grandpa Liam said that I could shoot if we got an opportunity. The rifles were cased and in the sled, but I was still intently scanning the woods for any sign of big game. The stick was down at our second set. Grandpa Liam stopped the skidoo but left it idle. Grab the burlap bag, Ez. Come behind me and step in my tracks. I followed behind him through the hazel brush, tag alder, and poplar saplings. The snare wire was taut, but I couldn't see any animal until Grandpa Liam gave the wire a firm tug, pulling the frozen form of a large lynx from the snow. You got one, Grandpa. He turned and smiled. I saw him pull off his mittens and take a pouch of tobacco out of his pocket. Migwesh, Joanimian, Ge bin dakunin weweni. He put the tobacco on the ground and slid the snare from the lynx's neck. Put her in the bag, Ez. Then retrace your steps and tie the bag in the sled. I'll reset this and be right there. Grandpa Liam was smooth in the brush, which slid off his coat without issue as he returned to the skidoo. Then, let's go, grandson. Grandpa Liam punched the accelerator. He was running the skidoo like he was shooting for time trials at Kane's Quest snowmobile race. His reserved and cautious road driving was done. He was running the line, and it was a long one for short winter days. Our trail from the setting the traps was packing in nicely, and the machine gripped the trail without issue. We could see our footsteps where we'd set trails and looked out for Grandpa Liam's stakes. I was surprised at how successful our efforts were. Every third set seemed to have something. He had me release the number 2 traps for marten and mink and reset those, and he showed me how to reset the fox snares. He had me carry our kills in the burlap bags rather than drag animals in the snow. We carefully stepped in our previous footprints back and forth. The less disturbance, the better. The beaver sets were a little more work. We had to re-chop the ice because of freeze-over and then use a stick on each one to see if there was a beaver in the conibear. When there was, we had to pull the entire set out to release it and then reset the trap, the stakes, and the hole. Then we kicked snow over the opening to block light. Grandpa said we could get many beavers out of one lodge on the same set. When we finished on the South Loop, we drove the North Loop. Those sets were made from the previous day, so we didn't get as many there, but we made both loops in a little over half a day. Buster was happy to have us back early at the cabin. The day's work was really still ahead. We drank tea and brought animals in one at a time to work on them on the kitchen table. Grandpa preferred them to be slightly frozen so the job wasn't too messy. Each animal had certain parts, organs, or joints that had to go back in the woods or the water with tobacco offerings. The skinning and stretching of hides were slow and more meticulous. Grandpa Liam showed me what to do, but I was so worried about cutting holes in the hides that he got 2 or 3 done in the time it took me to do one. That's the way. I'd rather have them done right than right now. You'll get faster as you get more experience. Once we settled into a cadence with skinning, scraping and stretching hides and processing beaver meat, Grandpa Liam started telling stories again. Ezra, There's only one animal in all these woods that would challenge the wolf pack. What animal is that? Usually, bears avoid wolves. An alpha wolf like Ogima probably weighs 80 kilograms. That's 175 pounds for you Americans. He chuckled and slapped me on the shoulder. That is a huge animal, bigger than me. Adult black bears weigh anywhere from 60 to 300 kilograms. That's about 130 to 660 pounds for Americans. He chuckled again. The same jokes worked over and over with him. Most bears are smaller or the same size as a wolf. Some of the older ones are bigger, but not bigger than any 3 wolves together. And a wolf pack is usually a dozen animals. Sometimes a really healthy pack like the one at Chief's Ridge could be closer to 20. One-on-one, a bear might have an advantage, but wolves come in packs. Bears know this. They don't mess with wolves. They are totally outmatched. But once in a while there's an anomaly, an exception to the general rules of the forest. The world record black bear weighed 500 kilograms, 1,100 pounds, and was 2.5 meters long. That animal was killed in 1972. The size sounds prehistoric, but it was real. His brow wrinkled as he continued. There's one bear in these parts that's even bigger than that. We don't even call him Makwa for bear. We call him Chi Awesin. That means big animal. That's his name. And he earned it. Chi for short. He's so huge and so mean that the wolves won't even mess with him. And wolves, especially a strong pack like this one, usually feel like it's their right to mess with anything they want. 2 trappers were killed in bear attacks east of here over the past several years. There's a hollow there and caves in the side of the hill. I think that's where Chi usually sleeps in the winter. We can't say for sure it was him, but I don't doubt it. One party tried to track him, but as huge as he is, he's just as wily as he is mean. We thought about bringing tribal hunters from Red Gut and Seine River to look for him, but the risk was too high. We decided to leave him be, but that is one animal we never want to tangle with. Grandpa, what if he comes here? He could push the door right off the hinges. Grandpa Liam laughed. He sure could, but bears sleep in the winter. Sometimes we call it hibernation, but bears don't actually hibernate. Hibernation means lowering the body temperature and heart rate. They just sleep for 6 months, half the year. Lucky for us, they sleep from October through March. We pull traps in March before Chi wakes up. I've never had a problem. It's January now, so that's about as safe as it gets. Once we finished with the hides, we hung the beaver stretchers on the wall and leaned the fox stretchers in the corner. They would try out best with the heat of the stove. We cut unprocessed beaver meat, sealing pieces in Ziploc bags. These we stashed in large boxes in the shed so they'd freeze, and hoisted 2 large logs on top to prevent animals from getting at the meat. If we keep going like this, he said, I might have to open my earthen food cache early.